at the last chapter of the story of Joseph's life. Remember, Joseph was sold by his brothers into slavery in Egypt, and Joseph became a great man. And so we are at the last chapter, which is called Joseph Forgives His Brothers. Do you think Joseph was glad to see his brothers again? No, not at first. Not at first. But he did want to hear about his father Jacob and to hear about his youngest brother Benjamin. So he asked the brothers about their homes and their father and Benjamin. He did not see Benjamin with them. Perhaps he thought these rough men had got rid of Benjamin the same way as they had gotten rid of him. So he spoke roughly to them and called them spies. And when he learned that his father was alive and that Benjamin was at home with his father, Joseph was kinder and to the 10 brothers who were kneeling before him. Now Jacob was a rich man. He and his sons had plenty of money. But people can't eat money, can they? No, not really. And no matter how hungry they are, we can't eat the money. And if there is nothing to buy, then money isn't of much value, is it, if you can't do anything with it? Well, Egypt had plenty of wheat and grain. Canaan, where Jacob lived, had none. The 10 brothers had come to Egypt with their pockets full of money, and it was only in Egypt that there was any food anywhere to buy. The donkeys that had carried the brothers into Egypt did not carry them all back again. 9 brothers walked to Canaan. I am sure that they were pretty well by the time they walked home. Joseph had crammed their empty sacks so full of grain and food that the donkeys would not have the strength to carry more than those heavy sacks, not a rider on top of those. And what do you think the brothers found in their sacks when they reached home? Well, when those bulging sacks were opened, every man found his money in his sack. Joseph had made them a present of the wheat. At first, the brothers were frightened, but they needed food, and so they kept the wheat. Well, but such a big family as Jacob soon ate all the wheat and that was in the sacks, and all of them were hungry again, of course. So back to Egypt the brothers must go for more wheat. But at first they would not go because Jacob did not want to let Benjamin go with them. "We will all have to stay here and starve," said one of the brothers. "The Lord of Egypt, who sells the wheat, told us he would not see us again unless Benjamin came with us." And there was nothing to do but let Benjamin go back to Egypt with his brothers. With him, Jacob sent a present of nuts, spices, and honey to the great man in Egypt. Jacob thought a present would soften the great man's heart, and all this time he never knew the great man was his very own son Joseph, who he still grieved for after all those years. As soon as the brothers reached Egypt, they hurried to Joseph's palace. And their little children were starving at home, and they must get back with wheat as fast as they could travel so the little ones wouldn't starve to death. And Joseph was glad to see them because Benjamin, the brother he loved best, was with them. Now he made a great feast for them, and he gave them all plenty to eat. But he put more on Benjamin's plate than he did on the plate of any of the others. Joseph wanted to see his father again, and he wanted to keep Benjamin with him. So he asked every Egyptian to leave the room so that he could be alone with his brothers. Just imagine how astonished those rough men were when Joseph said, "I am Joseph, your brother whom ye sold into Egypt." So were they glad to hear it? Not at first, for I think they were a little bit frightened, and I can kind of understand why they might be with what they had done to Joseph. And what would Joseph do to them? Can you guess? I bet you can't. He kissed them all and forgave them. He told them the terrible famine would last 5 years longer. "Bring my father to Egypt," he said. "Bring your little children, your sheep and your cattle. Don't leave a single thing that belongs to you there. Come here and live near me." Donkeys are not very comfortable to ride on. And the babies and their mothers would get very tired riding on them all the way from Canaan to Egypt. So Pharaoh, the king, told Joseph to send plenty of wagons back with his brothers. Your old father, Jacob, and the little children with their mothers will be more comfortable riding in wagons, said Pharaoh. What a bustle and stir there must have been when the brothers reached home again with the wonderful news that Joseph was alive and had invited them all to come to Egypt and to live near him. In those days, it was not very much work to move. I think it must have been great fun, perhaps. They just pulled up their tents and folded them and then strapped them on a camel's or a donkey's back. Big boys and little boys drove the sheep and cattle. The animals were glad to go. They knew that moving meant they were going towards wells of water and a place where food was much more abundant for them. Moving day was a happy day for everyone. So off they started, Jacob and his big family, and went down into Egypt to live near Joseph. An amazing story. Joseph had visions as a boy that showed him the things that were going to happen in his life with his brothers and his family and his ancestors, or descendants. And then his brothers were so jealous of that and the many-colored coat that their dad gave to young Joseph, that they sold him into slavery in Egypt and told his dad, who loved him best of all, that he had died. Or they showed him Joseph's garment that they had stained with animal blood to make it look like he had been attacked and died. But God was with Joseph, and he took care of Joseph. And Joseph was a noble man and an honest man, and he was rewarded, as was his family. Well, I hope you liked the story. Next week, next time we get together, I'm not sure which story I'm going to do yet, but it'll be another wonderful story from the true and living Word of the true and living God Almighty and His Son, Jesus Christ. So, I'll see you again soon, God willing. Love you all.